Aquaman. You cannot marry a woman without gills. You're from two different worlds. Oh, I've wasted my life.
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is
Morning somewhere!
for June 18th, 2025. My name is Bertie Burns, sitting right over there. She's got no gills. My partner for life. It's Ashley Burns. Say hi to Ashley, everybody.
It was one of those things we had to test for beforehand. Like, are you sure you don't have gills? We're from two different worlds.
Can I do a little bit of housekeeping quickly? So
You may.
Later today, should we say later today or early tomorrow? Because we're weird. We're offset. Later today, we will be sending out beta invitations via email to Tier 1 members of the Patreon. If you don't get your email, also just check the Patreon page, because the easiest way to do it is also make a post about it, so you'll have the information on how to access the beta site for roosterteeth.com, so that we can get that information out to you, and it's also a way to verify that you're part of the Tier 1. So There'll be a post up for you later today, in addition to an email that's going out. So take a look for both, but I would like to try to solve this problem. We could go through this thing of like warming up the domain and asking people to whitelist info@friends.rooster.com. That's where that comes from. So just check it out. Look for that email later today.
If you get that email, be like, yeah, that's my friend.
Anyway, that's enough housekeeping for today. How's everybody doing? It is now Thursday? Are we on Thursday? Or is it Wednesday?
No, it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
So don't get ahead of yourself.
I don't even know what day of the week it is.
It's been a busy week for us already. So it's like there's that sort of like losing track, because it feels like it should be Thursday because the days have been long enough. We've been doing enough, right? Feels like it should be Thursday.
There was somebody in the subreddit posted a video. I don't know the stop motion project. A lot of people reacted to the stop motion comments we made yesterday.
Yeah, it was a good discussion.
And you posted, was it Coraline? Was I right?
It was Coraline.
It was Coraline.
Yeah. No, you nailed it in one. It's interesting as I was looking for that video, because you know when you know that you've seen a video, but it can be hard to find again, you just start putting in random keywords, hoping that something will lead you in the right direction.
It's so weird you say that, because there's like a video that I wanted to get from somewhere, and I thought somebody has seen this, and if I could just describe it, they can find it for me. But it is one of those things like you just sometimes can't recreate stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was searching everywhere for this video, and I was like, the best place for me to find this is going to be on YouTube. So I'm looking through, and I couldn't find it in videos, which was really weird. But it was all over shorts.
Interesting. Okay.
And I don't know where to go from there, because usually people will source the shorts from some video, right? And I have no idea where to follow the lead upward from there to find the source.
Let me ask you a question, Ashley. This is a market study.
A market study of one. Go ahead.
Of one person. It's a wide net I'm casting with my market research here. How much would you pay per month? Let me start a number. Would you pay $5 a month for Instagram to have a history of the reels you've watched?
Ooh, look.
Or let's say TikTok, if you're a TikToker.
Maybe that should be, well, I think TikTok does have a history, and it's free. So that's what I'm going to pay.
You can go back and see your history of your stuff you've seen on TikTok?
I think so.
Whoa, okay. Well, that might move me over. I don't need my personal data anyway. You can have it, China. Good luck. Hasn't done shit for me so far. Maybe you guys can make something out of it. But it is, for what is supposed to be a self-documenting entity, the internet. It's remarkable how often data just like immediately ephemerally disappears as soon as I'm done with it.
And the thing is, it's all tracked, right? Because if you watch something and you watch it and it goes on repeats, whatever, you find that person or like that creator will come up in your feed again and again repeatedly, because it goes, oh, they like this guy because they know that you've been watching the guy, right? Mm-hmm. But how can you go back and see all the videos, like the last 100 videos that you watched, which to be fair only takes a couple minutes.
It's like we're going back to what we were when we were younger. When you knew something, you're like, how did you know it or how did you not know it? Do you feel like, I feel like we talk about conspiracy theories as a general concept a lot these days.
Let me put my hat on. Okay, go ahead.
But we talk about that a lot as a general category of information. But do you feel like the term urban legend isn't used as much as it used to be? Because in in the pre-internet age, urban legends were a thing because you would have some kind of story that was out there that the friend of your cousin had experienced this thing. But I feel like the internet kind of killed the concept overall of urban legends.
I mean, kind of. You definitely don't hear the term anymore. Maybe there's like a Gen Z term that sounds like ribbity, right?
Ribbity?
That's the closest to Gen Z vocabulary I can get, okay?
Is that what T is? They want the T or whatever? Yeah, but no, like I don't feel like I hear about as many urban legends anymore, you know? I think cryptids are still holding on, you know?
Yeah, well, would you classify cryptids as a category of urban legend?
Would I classify cryptids as a version of urban legends? I almost said virgin. Yes, I would. But they're rural legends, kind of. They're not urban, right? They're like
the suburban legends.
Are there any like city-based cryptids? Like chuds, I guess, are, right? Because the mole people who live in the sewers and stuff. That's what they are. But like there was always stuff you knew as a kid. Like we've talked about this before, I know. But how did the information get all across the country that if you blow on a Nintendo cartridge, that'll fix the NES problem?
That made it everywhere. Everyone knew it. Everyone knew it. There was no internet spreading that information at that time, but everyone knew that. Even if it was wrong, everyone knew it.
And it was wrong. There was an actual solution that didn't make its way around the nation.
Was that to hold it down?
Yeah, when you put coins in to hold it down, apparently the spring would go. At least it would solve the problem for a lot of people. More so than going,
we were busy spitting and like getting the contacts all dirty.
Doing your birthday cake blow all over the, with a little bit of spittle all over your contacts for your NES cartridge. Mine was, we were just talking about this recently. Two things we were talking about just recently. One was that I asked you if you associate Chevy Chase with anything in particular. Because
Three Amigos.
We read,
and Community, but you know.
Remember how this started? We read a study. There we are back again with this. We're health influencers. They did a study about senior citizens. There's this new data that came out. AP News reported it, that seniors are at an increasing risk of unintentional falls. And I said, what the fuck is an unintentional fall?
As opposed to an intentional fall?
Are they doing stunts out there? And I asked Ashley, I said, what do you associate Chevy Chase with falling at all or pratfalls? And you said you did not.
No, not at all. I mean, I associate him most heavily with Three Amigos, and then second most heavily with Community.
And I wonder how many people realize that there was a period in Chevy Chase's comedy career where he was associated with big, huge pratfalls. I mean, like falling off of ladders, falling through Christmas trees, stuff like that. Like Chevy Chase would appear on screen and be like, oh man, I hope he like trips and falls.
Like, how's he going to do it this time? It's going to be hilarious.
It was his thing. Like the opening for SNL used to be some sketch with Chevy Chase in it in the first season. They would be doing something like Gerald Ford at a podium in a debate, and then he would fall through the podium and then look up at the camera and go live from New York at Saturday night.
Right. Do you think it was a real conundrum when he left SNL? They're like, what are we going to do for our openings now?
Right, what do we do? He's gone. Our go-to laugh him, yuck him up is gone.
Where can we get a new fall guy in? Would it even be the same?
That led me to a weird thing too, where I saw a short of Letterman talking to Chevy Chase about him leaving Saturday Night Live. And he was doing that thing of like, it's in his past, so it's shitty kind of a thing. Like he's like, oh yeah, it really went downhill after I left and all that stuff.
Sure. Which
is just such a shit move to do because there's like other artists like working on SNL. Also over time, turned out not to be true. You know, SNL became one of the biggest things ever in American comedy. Arguably outlasted Chevy Chase's career.
Look, I understand that when you go through a breakup, and to some degree leaving a job is a big breakup, right? There's an emotional component to it. And sometimes the emotional component is, fuck that guy.
Well, everybody needs something to overcome. That's part of a normal story. When you tell the story about yourself, you have to have overcome something, right?
Right, because everyone loves the overcoming story.
And this guy had to overcome winning an Emmy for being an SNL.
Like, it's really hard.
Yeah, really tough, really tough. The other thing is, I remembered as a kid, we were talking about this all came from the same place. I remembered as a kid, I had a piece of information, and I went and looked up one of the old internet forum discussions about it I knew as a kid, even though it wasn't in any of the books or in any of the movies, that Darth Vader from the Star Wars franchise.
I've heard of him. I think I've heard of him.
Vader. I hope I'm pronouncing that
Dark
correctly.
Vader, got it.
He, did we ever talk about this before? Do you know that that means Darth Vader means Darth Father in German? And like the Germans were like, how is this a twist? It's like the guy's fucking name. I love that. But I knew that he had fallen into a volcano, and that's how he got all messed up. Because he fell into a volcano, but I didn't know how I knew that information. And there was a whole internet post about it. We'll link in the link dump where somebody like years ago is going, I knew this as a kid. How the fuck did I learn this? How did I know this? And I wanted to know that too. And apparently it was George Lucas said it in a Rolling Stone interview in like 1977.
And like as a kid in 1977, as like a 4-year-old, you're reading Rolling Stone.
Listen, they had Leia in the bikini on the cover. So that was the reason to read Rolling Stone.
That's a whole reason you learn to read.
But it's really funny because the quote actually goes back to the early days of Star Wars lore, where he talks about Darth Vader killed Anakin Skywalker, which became kind of a metaphorical thing later. Killed Anakin Skywalker, and then Obi-Wan hunted him down, and they had a fight on a volcano, and he fell into a volcanic pit and became, Ashley, more machine than man. Yeah. So that's where that came from. I always thought it was like a kid's book or something. Maybe they, like some kid's book, they did it as well.
Like took the material and then like it got published in, sure. And then if people didn't read the same book as you, then they didn't get the same information, right? If it wasn't in the mainline movies.
Also, and then the way it ended up in the prequels, in classic Star Wars fashion. Actually, what if a volcano was a whole planet? Mustafar. It's like one biome. Every planet is one biome in Star Wars. I love that.
You love the single biomes?
Well, like it bugged me that when they went back to episode 7, when they introduced the character of Rey, she was on a desert planet that wasn't Tatooine. It was like, what is it?
You're like, hey.
Junta? Where was she from?
You've used up your desert biomes. You no more desert planets.
We already have a desert planet, Ashley. We don't need another one. What is that? What is the name of the planet she's from? Anyway, who cares?
Mustafar.
It's not. No. It's not Tatooine. That's all we care about. But it might as well be Tatooine. Why are we splitting hairs
right,
here?
It was effectively the same thing, right?
Right. All roads lead to Tatooine in the Star Wars universe.
Wait, she's from Arrakis?
The other thing, I'll get off this. I'm almost yakking away here. This came up too because there was also. I don't know the name of the actor, and I'm sure I would mispronounce his name, but the guy who plays Boba Fett is trying to be in Ashoka. Also, I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, I'm sure. Season 2, because this guy should be in the most Star Wars series because he's the face of the clones.
Right, he's all the clones. That's
all of
Tamara Morrison.
Nailed it.
And I got
your back here.
It makes sense to me that he would be in everything, right? If there's a clone in something, it would be him. But here's what I want to know, right? And so when the Stormtroopers started, I'm not a Star Wars person. You're going to learn this very quickly. When they made the Stormtroopers, they were all clones, right? That's what I got from the prequels. No?
No. Well, okay. Yes, when they were prequels, you're going chronologically in the series?
I'm going chronologically.
In our time or their time?
In their time.
In their time, yes.
So when they make the Stormtroopers, right, they're all clones. But then later, they're not all clones. So did they start like hiring in new guys? Like, did they, because they couldn't make more clones? Did they run out of clones?
I think the lore was because of the Clone Wars, cloning technology was not allowed anymore after the Clone Wars. So at some point they became like, contractors, whatever, independent contractors.
Wait, you're saying they outsourced everything to PMCs?
Yeah, they were just like, you got to handle your own healthcare. There's like a third-party company that'll handle that for you. You're not on the Empire's healthcare plan, not directly. They'll handle that for you.
If you get blown up in a Death Star, whatever, they're not responsible.
But I think chronologically in our time, like when Episode 4 came out, I think what they just said there was the Clone Wars. I think.
Do you think, like, how much of this do you think was like planned, and how much it was like, oh, that sounds cool?
I think they were very lucky that no stormtroopers besides Han Solo and Luke Skywalker took off their helmets at any point in time, because then they had this ability to say, oh, they've been clones.
Yeah, they were clones the whole time.
But at that point too, they would have also potentially started to not be clones. Definitely after Return of the Jedi, when the Empire was, knocked down a peg and became the New Order, that would have been a point at which they obviously started to have non-clone stormtroopers because they had the different troopers.
They had to recruit among the ranks.
Yeah, the main character from, I would argue the main character from Episode 7 was a non-clone trooper, basically.
Yes.
So,
well, that's why I wonder. I was like, they started having like a whole bunch of like these other guys. When?
I do think it was a retcon, though. When I heard Clone Wars as a kid, I thought it was a totally separate thing that wasn't related to Stormtroopers. It was like a war with clones and something like one of these backstory things that they filled in later, and it worked out well because they lined up all the pieces the right way. Or maybe it was planned from the beginning, and George Lucas is a genius. Welcome to the Star Wars podcast, everybody.
Speaking of, though, iconic characters and stuff, did you hear, Bernie, that Disney and someone else, Disney and Universal, are suing Midjourney, which is an AI image creator, for this is an interesting one, for the results of their image creation AI infringing on IPs. So this is kind of separate from where a lot of people get held up with AI ethics, which is the training materials, right? If they've been trained on something. This is specifically going after Midjourney for the results of putting in prompts. Specifically, it says, here we go. In the lawsuit filed in federal district court in Los Angeles, the studios gave examples of Midjourney-generated images that included Disney characters such as Star Wars Yoda and Marvel Spider-Man, The Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man. So basically saying if you can generate images of those characters, it infringes on their IP. And I think this is the first time we're seeing the big companies go after someone for results.
I know of a specific case before where it happened where the NC Soft Games City of Heroes was sued because people could make characters in the character generation tool that looked like the Hulk and Iron Man.
I remember that.
And stuff like that. So that was a results thing as well. And that was from humans using tools to recreate the protected characters.
Right.
This intellectual property. And so this is what AI is. And it's like we always say artificial intelligence. It's really the automation of what people have been doing anyway, which is like scraping shit from the internet at an organic level, taking it in, and then making like fan cuts and fan edits and stuff like that. It's just now the tools are you can do it in 5 seconds and everyone can do it all the time. And pretty soon it'll be making processes that make the content. You know?
Yeah, but this is an interesting sort of departure from the argument we've seen overall with AI, which has been permission for training, which I don't know that we talked about this, but did you hear last month there was a guy in the UK, Nick Clegg, he's Meta's former head of global affairs, basically just straight up said that if they had to ask artists for use or for permission to train AI on their materials, that would kill the AI industry.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's like, what does that mean?
Waiting for the downside here?
I get what you're saying there. It's like, this is something that always comes up whenever there's a big political era, like the presidential election in the U.S., it's always like jobs. It's like everything can be used to justify jobs. Like jobs don't justify every single thing.
Like we need to make sure that all the coal plants stay open because there are a few hundred jobs at stake.
It's like this button that anyone can press at any point in time to be like, oh yeah, we got to worry about the jobs. It's like, you don't need to have every industry. It is one of those things. AI will say though, it's like if you leave it to where other countries who don't care about IP because they don't own a lot of this stuff, it's in a different country. If they take it over, then you've lost the race, and an incredibly powerful gateway technology is completely owned by somebody with a completely different set of cultural values to you. Then that's an important thing.
Well, and as we have learned from the TikToks of the world, if people have fun with it, and if they like it, they don't really care.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they're like personal data. Have fun with it. What do I care about my personal data?
For instance, what I just said is, I think a lot of people could agree with what I just said. Is like if somebody else develops they probably had a country in mind when I said that, even though I didn't name a country.
I practically did.
That could be a dangerous thing, to the world that if it's completely out of your control. It's bad when tech companies are doing it, but if it's completely out of your control, then you could see how it could be a bad thing. At the same time, you back up 10 years, maybe 15 years. There was a site called the Pirate Bay, which was based in Sweden. And they would often post things to their front page of going, hey, record companies, we don't live in your goddamn country. We're not subjected to your IP laws. And everybody was like, yeah, get them, because they were getting music for free. And they didn't care about it. So it's the same mentality, but you apply it in different ways, especially if people are getting something. It's amazing. Might sound a little inflammatory. It's amazing how the average person will sell out their values for nothing, literally for nothing, just to get something for free.
As long as the thing is nothing. Yeah.
Right. It's like they will literally sell out for no money. They will sell out to get something for free, and it's like, it shouldn't be the case, but it's been the case over and over and over again.
Well, have you considered, Bernie, instead selling out for $450?
Well, go ahead. Can we say something really quickly before we get off this? This lawsuit could be something that's very impactful. In the early days of YouTube, they would post everything and anything on YouTube. It was like basically a pirate site, essentially.
Right, people would upload episodes of TV shows, movies, whatever.
Even after it was owned by Google, they didn't care. Like even if you wanted to get, like, say you had a popular web series, that you didn't want on YouTube because it was just a file sharing site like every other site at that point in time. I know it's not now. In history, it looks a lot different, but at the time, it just looked like another file sharing site. And if you wanted to get a takedown on one of your videos, you had to submit in the mid-2000s via fax. Fax. That's how you had to do it. They literally didn't care. I swear that fax machine would just empty you into a trash can.
Probably.
They didn't care. Anyway, they got sued by Viacom, who at the time was kind of like a Warner Brothers at the time. They owned a lot of different companies, including CBS. Viacom, by the way.
They owned MTV, right?
You know they own now? They bought VidCon.
What?
Of all things. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think that was a smart move. VidCon was like a powder keg to me, like waiting to happen. It's just too many. You get too many influencers in one place at one time. It's something's going to go wrong at some point.
Right. So yeah, that was a $1 billion lawsuit that led to essentially the creation of the copyright takedown claim system that YouTube has today. But that's actually got another really interesting knock-on effect. So Viacom, they owned a bunch of stuff. They owned like Colbear Report, South Park, all that sort of stuff that was really popular to be uploaded on YouTube, which was part of the lawsuit, right? So then all that stuff was pulled off YouTube and was only available on their respective sites. And then they took the sites down. Yeah. Right. Colbear Report is a big one. Specifically, I learned this when we were talking about Colbear Report a while ago. I was looking for an episode where he interviewed like a lawmaker and couldn't find it. So it turns out they took their whole website offline. There's episodes conspicuously not available on YouTube. And because they deleted their website, it's just completely gone. It's gone. Like, what do they sell? Like a box set DVD of all the Colbert Report
you
episodes?
Want your 1,500 disc box set of the Colbert Report? Yeah.
But it's just like, you can't even turn to physical media to try to get that, can you? I mean, so it's just gone. And probably partly because of this lawsuit.
Lost media. That's what, yeah. Yeah, that early lawsuit by Viacom for $1 billion in YouTube, it really did change the trajectory of YouTube. Long-term probably legitimized it more as a business, as an ecosystem by which people could post content and start to make money from it. But it really did change the trajectory of what that site was. And we're feeling the implications of that today.
Absolutely.
To this day. So these lawsuits, they're very important.
All right, so back to selling out.
Sorry, go back to selling out.
For $450.
Yeah, listen, the offer on the table is $450.
Let's see if anyone can beat it. So
sold,
we were talking,
just sold, whatever it is. I need $450.
We were talking yesterday about 23andMe being reacquired and the genetic data and whether or not they can legally sell it and everything. So Ozzy Osbourne apparently decided to go the complete opposite direction, and he's partnered with Liquid Death to sell his DNA in these cans of Liquid Death for $450.
Is Liquid Death kind of like the new Cards Against Humanity? Is it just like a bunch of marketing campaigns and like ridiculous?
I guess so, but at the same time,
like, why is it called Liquid Death?
If you have an energy drink, what else are you going to do? There are so many of them that your marketing campaigns are going to be the difference in whether you get market share or not, right?
I have this link here. I was going to pull up here to look at it. You called it an energy drink. I found the Star Wars link I need to send to you. I think it's just canned water.
What?
I think that's all it is, Ashley. I think when I said it's like silly marketing campaigns and stuff like that.
Canned water company?
Yeah, it's canned water. It's not an energy drink. So you thought Liquid Death this entire time was an energy drink.
Yeah.
And I think it's called Liquid Death because
I would look for it next to like the Red Bull and the Monster.
You can get like hyperhidrosis or whatever from water and you can die from it. So therefore it's called Liquid Death. It's ironic, Ashley. It's water, but they're going to call it Liquid Death so that you're cool drinking your Liquid Death. By the way, the company's probably worth like $14 million. And I'm sitting here on my fucking podcast going blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I think so. That's why I say, is this the new, have they embraced the Cards Against Humanity model where they just do random, weird, dumb press release events, basically?
I mean, I guess they must have, right?
Also, can I just say, like, putting on the sci-fi writer hat, this is hugely irresponsible of Ozzy Osbourne to do this.
So, well, here's what's going to happen, Bernie. Do you draw out, in the far distant future, a long way away?
Go ahead.
The clones, they're all going to be Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, right.
The clone army, all Ozzy.
George Lucas told you so, Ozzy. The Boba Fett actor's got some competition. It's going to be all Aussies all the way down. No, but like, let's say he makes a statement like that publicly, right? I mean, this is obviously huge conjecture and we're extrapolating.
Yeah, him like part of his marketing is clone me, you bastards.
Like clone me. He says openly, clone me, you bastards. So what happens if
is this legally binding? Can we clone him now?
500 people that are cloned that are legitimate beings that are cloned versions of Ozzy Osbourne. They're real people just based on his genetics. And then somebody goes, no, we had permission to clone him and do whatever we wanted with him. Because look, we have this statement from him that says that.
It says clone me.
I just think it's irresponsible. I would not want to do that or put someone who's based on me to be in that same scenario.
Well, didn't you turn down? Weren't they going to send? Maybe they canceled this, but I remember they were going to send the DNA of a number of like high profile individuals like into space in a capsule.
Yes.
And I remember you talking about that going, that's a terrible idea.
No, they asked me to do it. And it was Richard Garriott when he went to the ISS. He was going to put a memory card. He was going to do a swab of your cheek. And we were working with him on a podcast at that point in time. And he wanted to do a swab of my cheek and put my genetic data on a like a memory card that would live on the ISS. It was like almost like a seed vault, like we talked about. In case something happens to Earth and they have this genetic data. It's like, I can't imagine all the ways that could be used, and I wouldn't want to subject essentially my progeny to some kind of future that I cannot predict in that way. You know,
like who knows if they're going to get drafted?
I mean, who cares? Genetic is like a giant roll of the dice anyway. I mean, they could probably like find my remains and do the same thing. It made me go through the mental exercise of thinking about how that could be used.
And there's a lot of ways it can go wrong.
Yeah, what was that called? Look it up. Richard Garriott. Memory card. It had like some kind of name, like the Infinity Project or something. Like it was like some kind of lofty name that was associated with it. While you're looking that up, though, I was thinking about something that I associate. Do you ever have something? We were talking about Coraline, and I was a little trepidatious about talking about whether or not that stop motion animated GIF was from Coraline or not. It's because I know I have something wrong about Coraline in my head, but I can never quite remember what I have wrong about Coraline in my head. So anytime I talk about Coraline, my brain is like going, you're getting something wrong. You're getting something wrong. I know what
you're getting wrong.
What am I getting wrong?
You always want to call it Caroline.
No, I want to call it a Tim Burton movie.
Oh.
And it's not a Tim Burton movie. And I had it hit me last night. I go, that's what you're worried about with Coraline is you think it's a Tim Burton movie, and it's not a Tim Burton movie.
It's the Immortality Drive.
That's what it is. The Immortality Drive. What do they call it? The Infinity Project? Close enough.
It's, look, that's the sequel, okay?
It's on the ISS.
You have episode 4, Immortality Drive. Episode 5, what is it?
The Persephone Files. Do you really not know what the name of episode 5 is for Star Wars?
No, I'm asking you what yours was.
Oh, it's Persephone Files. That's what it is. It's funny because that's a callback joke. We did a callback joke earlier this week that really upset some people. And it was kind of like, I don't really think about it too much, but sometimes when I read a comment, it's like, oh, you just didn't you don't know the joke. And it's our fault because we tell jokes sometimes that are callbacks or inside jokes. Like earlier this week, we talked about Diet Colas, and we said, Ashley, we're a podcast. We get to say, they did a study. They did a study. And that's our running joke for health influencers on podcasts, is they always go, they did a study. And it's like, everyone goes, oh, they did a study, huh? And they lean in without telling you who did the study or whatever. And it's always like, they got sunshine on their butthole and it raised their cortisol levels. And someone got really upset without knowing us saying that they did a study is a callback joke.
Also,
conspiracy theorists and health influencers.
Also, I'm just saying we could all use more sunshine in our butthole.
Well, they did a study, Ashley. They did a study.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. I'm not sure who they are, but their buttholes are very tan.
It's the Butthole Institute of Omaha. They did a study. They did a study. Yeah. So sorry if we upset the of all the communities that listen to our podcast. I have found that over the years, the science community gets the most upset about any jokes in their milieu.
Well, I get it to some degree because science is all about precision. And I would not call either of us scientists or precise.
Well, because science is under attack these days. It's under attack.
And it is.
So you have to throw up the battlements and be prepared to repel all borders.
Well, and clone Ozzy Osbourne if you get the chance.
You, by the way, I thought it was going to be a bigger issue. You did not say bye, everybody, yesterday.
Look, I'm sorry about that. I was distracted because I had already started reading up once again about the CEOs in Chinese companies. And it's just fascinating to me. It's fascinating.
Well, Ashley, who is going to be joining us in our clone army in the future?
All right, welcome to the Clone Army, Ricardo Gallus and Nick. Thank you both so much for sponsoring this episode of our show at patreon.com/morningsomewhere.
All right, Tier 1 patrons, reminder once again, sometime in the next 24 hours, be on the lookout for an email and a post on the Patreon website about your information on how to access the Rashid.com beta. All right, well, that does it for us today. Maybe Thursday, maybe Wednesday, we're not sure. June 18th, 2025. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow on Thursday. We hope you will be here as well.
Bye, everybody.